starting from the first round till they got to the final. They lost only 3 games. They swept the Philadelphia 76ers. They swept the Cavs. Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Tyrone Ojobi, your host on London Access People Sports. We like to bring on filtered opinion, sharp analysis, and some big love for Canadian hoops and ice. I'd like to just congratulate the 2 teams that have won in some of the biggest leagues, across the world. In the NHL, congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes, and also in NBA, congratulations to the New York Knicks. And I would like to talk a little bit about the New York Knicks because it's been 53 years that they've won this title. It's been so bad because it was in the 70s that they were very relevant. They play a lot on house money. It's one of the richest teams in the NBA. It's one of the most popular cities in the US. And for them not to have won at least a basketball championship in 53 years was really embarrassing. And that is the emotional part of what they just won. And that's why you can't take anything away from this team. I give them their flowers 2,000%. Because if you look at the amount of work they put in, looking at how they progressed directly from the first round up until they got to the final, this is a team to reckon with. And one thing I've always said in my analysis is any team that is able to go from the beginning to the end without any major injury concern have a shot at winning the championship. They didn't have any injuries to their main players. All their main players were healthy all throughout this competition, and it was a good opportunity for them to keep fighting till they got to the end. Shout out to them. Shout out to, Jalen Brunson. A lot of people said the point guard of his height is going to make it, it's going to be a bit difficult for him to be able to lead a team to the finals because he's not so much of a tall guard. It's quite short compared to other NBA players. But at the end of the day, he was able to prove everybody wrong, and he was able to take this team with the way the team was not fully constructed, the way, even though if you look at every of their positions, they have complete players. And looking at the way they played in the regular season, people were like, no, this team still needs 1 or 2 tweaking for them to improve. And a lot of people have forgotten that the New York Knicks team, they just tweaked one thing. And that was the only thing that made that change, especially during the Atlanta Hawks series. What they did was take the ball away from Jalen Brunson's hands. Now, Jalen Brunson is a dominant guard. He likes to be with the ball all the time, take most of the shots. But the moment Mike Brown was able to take the ball off his hands and he was playing more of an off-guard position, it made it very, very easy for every player to be able to add value. Even an Alvarado was coming from the bench, adding value. Landry Shamet was shooting lights out, and Landry Shamet was shooting at a very, very high percentage. That was a major change for them this season. Coming from the bench, their bench production was also good. I think the only match that they didn't have good bench production was the one they lost against San Antonio, and they still lost by just 4 points. So it shows that this team is a very good team, and the sky is just the beginning. I know it's going to be very difficult for them to get to the finals again because every other team is going to get better. The city is going to probably enjoy this moment. The players are going to get as much bonuses as possible, and look at what it really means to the city of New York. It's so emotional. If there's still somebody in this generation saying that sports is not so powerful in this world we're living in, especially with the way, a city can come alive. I was checking and I was seeing the way they were celebrating on the streets of New York, see thousands of people celebrating the success of New York Knicks. It is a phenomenon. It is a movement. Sports is another dimension. If you're looking at investing sometime in the future, that's why billionaires buy into most of these sports franchise. You see billionaires are already making money in their field, but they want to buy teams in either the NHL or the NBA or even in the NFL because sports connects a lot of people together. See the number of people that are able to come together and watch sport. Look at what the World Cup is doing. Look at how people are coming together just to watch the World Cup. So over 80,000 people sat down in the field to watch one TV, watching Brazil play, all the way from South America. Sports is really big. It brings a lot of people together. And look at what this means to the city of New York. These players forever have their names written in the stones of Madison Square Garden. They are just different because they've made this happen. They deserve all the flowers. And all I'm going to be talking about today is what made New York Knicks a bit different in this series and what made them win. For me, they were able to calm the perfect storm. There were a lot of criticisms. Their shot making, late clock execution, all those things improved. Their defense variance also improved. They were lucky. The last 6 seconds of the game, the last 4 minutes of the game, they were the best. If you look at their dominant playoff run, they lost only 3 games. Starting from the first round till they got to the final, they lost only 3 games. They swept the Philadelphia 76ers. They swept the Cavs. It was just different. It was just different. And these are the historic dominance I would like to talk about. They were plus 14.9 average point differential. That's number 1 in the NBA in playoff history. No other team has ever achieved that. Just for you to be able to understand how you give them their flowers. Now, in 1971, the Bucks were plus 14.5, and that was the closest to them. In 2017, the Warriors were plus 13.5. Very close as well. In 2001 cast where we had Shaq playing, lights out, they were just plus 12.8 on average point differential. For me, what this means is they were beating teams away. They were dominating teams all throughout these playoffs. I think the only team that beat them in 2 games was the Atlanta Hawks, and they made adjustments in that same series and went ahead and defeated the Atlanta Hawks and swept them. Now, the Atlanta Hawks were not able to win any other game from the moment they went 2-1 up. After then, New York just came and just dominated them till, the end of that entire series. Shout out to them. They were doing some good jobs. Now, if you look at it, their 3 losses were just by 1, 1, and 4 points. Now, for all the games that they lost by 1 point. I mean, for the Atlanta Hawks game, they lost 2 games by 1 point, and they lost 1 game against San Antonio by 4 points. So if you look at it general, they were outclassing teams. They were scoring a lot of points, and they tied all-time record with 12 double-digit wins in the entire playoff season. It was different. They had 5 plus 29 points blowout. And the most embarrassing one against the Atlanta Hawks was the one by over 40 points. It was different because they were shooting very well. They were very effective. The guys from the bench were also helping. And, it was just elite comeback for them. I really just give them their flowers. Now, if you look at Karl Anthony Towns, he had to change his narratives, especially with the way he approached the game, because there were times he brought the ball directly from the back, more like a point guard. He took some of the role of a point guard as well. And it was plus 258 on the court all through. That's the best postseason plus minus record that he has ever recorded, ever in his life. Even when he was with the Timberwolves, he didn't record this number. And a lot of people have seen this number and they said it's really not a normal number. It's a phenomenon. It's more of a dynasty level kind of numbers. It was plus 258 on the court all through. I saw their elite coming back. They were 6-2 when trailing by double digits, which means that they lost only 2 matches when they were losing and they were down by double digits, but they won 6, which was good. And that's the best mark I've seen in almost 30 years, of watching play-by-play era. And even when we're having play-by-play data, I've not really seen that before. If you see some of their significant moments that you would have noticed in the NBA, they were down 22 against Cleveland in Eastern Conference Game 1, and they came back. The Cavs were up 41 when leading by 15 plus, but they trailed by double digits in all 5 final games. You understand? They overcame a 29 deficit in Game 4, which was the largest final comeback in 30 years. They were breaking a lot of records all throughout this entire playoffs. Now, this is the opposite of the regular season Knicks, if you want to look at them clearly. In the regular season, they were 46-6 when leading by over 10 points. But in the postseason, they were 46-6 in the postseason, but they were 14-26 when trailing by 10 plus points in the regular season. So it also shows that this team really improved. They were transforming their way of play. They were improving. Their shooting was becoming better. They were having better percentages. If you look at the mentality and the resilience they showed, you know that something changed in the locker room. I give Mike Brown a lot of credit because I really don't know what he was telling these guys. They came back, their nuclear shooting. OG Anunoby was doing 67.2% on field goal percentage. That's number 1 in playoff history, especially for a player that played at minimum of 150 minutes. You understand? So it was an outlier, Anunoby alone was doing 44 of 90 from 3, 49% in the playoff. That's really good. For me, it was a massive jump from where he was before. He was doing 58.1% in the regular season and he improved to 67.2. You understand? In the postseason, that was really good. Karl Anthony Towns was doing 62%, doing 55.6% in regular season. He moved to 62%. Mikal Bridges was a big improvement. Mikal Bridges was doing 57.1 in normal season and he moved to 62%. These are 3 players that really went on their career best. They were more efficient and they all won, this championship based on their effort. Now, if you look at the defense, the variance in the defense, their opponents were shooting 34.6% based on wide open threes. It means that the New York as a team, the New York Knicks, are even defending better and making other teams shoot badly. And if you look at the breakdown, the Sixers, when they played against Philadelphia Sixers, they reduced in their efficiency to 25.5%, which was the fifth, lowest in 13 years of tracking data. If you look at the breakdown, the Cavs reduced to 32.4% because of the way New York was defending. The Spurs reduced to 40.1%. They regressed. In fact, they should have done better, especially looking at coming from the regular season and other series, including the Western Conference. They reduced to 40.1%. So generally, if you see the luck that went with them, it also came with one opportunity and with a lot of hard work. Those guys were working hard on the defensive side. The Knicks went up 6-3 in clutch games. They were very, very lucky. They made sure that all their key breaks were working out. They made Wembanyama to do a lot of turnovers and it was fouled, especially in game 2. De'Aaron Fox was a disastrous decision. You understand, especially in game 4. Looking at the fact that Dylan Harper was playing well, and I kept talking about it. Dylan Harper, a 20-year-old, was playing better. He was busting, all those guys, was busting them across board and playing better than De'Aaron Fox. So, if you look at it, this season, they also did well because they avoided Celtics and they avoided Pistons entirely. These were the two teams I felt would have been a problem for New York. Now, the Cavs already helped them to beat the Pistons and the Celtics were defeated by the Philadelphia Sixers. So they avoided these two teams this year and that was a good one for them. Now, if you feel that avoiding these two teams kind of diminished their title, then you are wrong. Because if you look at it, every champion gets a break. If you look at previous years, look at when the Lakers won, in the 2000s, they had a break. There were some teams that they avoided that also helped them to be able to, every champion always has a break. Is it that maybe there's a team that you avoid or somebody helps you beat one team or the other? And at the end of the day, you're able to go ahead and, win your championship. Now they were doing if you look at their late scoring, they were doing about 345 especially on their late clock scoring within the last 6 minutes of the game. They were doing 345 to 166 on scoring edges, especially in final 6 seconds of the shot clock. Now, what that means is the Knicks are playing slowest paced, you understand, in the playoff with about 16.1 seconds on their possession. But eventually, all their opponents played fastest against them in 14.3 seconds by possession. And that's a slow pace. So you will see that they have more late ball, late clock possessions. They're a bit calculative in their decision taking. They are not in a hurry to take decision in the last 6 seconds. So it means that they can hold the ball, distribute around, and take more calculated shots. In fact, most of their shots, some of them are uncontested, if you look at it well. So, and lastly, I would like to just talk about Brunson's brilliance. Brunson was different. He had 0 late clock buckets, most in the playoffs. That has not happened in a very long time. Over the last 2 years, if you're looking at about 46 high volume late clock shooters, we have Brunson doing 51.6%. He was doing about 51.3% third position as well. And Anunoby was 50.2% on fourth position. Karl Anthony Towns was 50.0% on fifth position within the team. And Josh Hart also did about 47.7% night on the team. So for me, this is not luck. It's a roster that is built for late minutes progression and aggression, and they really needed it more, and that's why they were able to win it. Fast forward, if you look at the identity shift, especially looking from when they played against the Atlanta Hawks, you will see that in regular season their comeback was below average. If teams were blowing them out, it was difficult for them to come back. But when they got to the playoffs, they were coming back aggressively because they knew that if the New York team does not win it now, they may not be able to win it again. So they took advantage of the times and they got very aggressive. Their shooting was just good in regular season. In the playoffs, it became elite, historically elite, breaking records. Their pace of play was moderate, but in the playoffs, they were slower than every other person. They were the slowest team, and it's because they wanted to take better decisions. That was why. Late clock scoring in regular season was strong, but in the playoffs was outstanding, especially in the finals. They were outstanding. Opponents shooting. The opponents were just normal, but when we got to playoffs against a New York team, against a New York defense, they became very, very low in their performance. And that was the big question. And this is where it gets a bit uncomfortable. I just want to say it here, and it's going to be in the record for life. The New York team may not be able to get to the final next year. I don't even see them because teams are going to get better. The NBA is so competitive. Oklahoma City Thunder is going to come back. They still have a lot of first round picks. The drafts are coming. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to get better. All their players are going to be stronger and better. The Washington Wizards have a lot of access to the first round pick. They still have Anthony Davis on that team. They still have good pieces around him. They're going to come back better. I know Washington Wizards may still need 1 or 2 more years, but every team is going to get better. The Phoenix Suns too have a lot of things to prove. The Houston Rockets have a lot to prove. The Lakers are going to get better. A lot of teams in the Western Conference are also going to get better. Remember, Boston is still there. The Cavs are still going to get better. It's going to be very difficult to have New York get into this final. Just this next season, I don't even see them get into this final. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is the way they played in this postseason is not consistent. You can't play like that all throughout the regular season. It's going to be very difficult. Okay, if you look at it, their opponents' wide open threes regressed throughout the playoffs. That cannot happen in regular season. Even the teams they played in throughout this entire series were not shooting well. They themselves were shooting well. And that's why they were blowing out teams. OG Anunoby had 67%. That's not sustainable in regular season. So even next season, not all those players will be 100% by the time they're getting to the playoffs. Some things will also stop them, and other teams will also come back. And one thing a lot of people have forgotten, this San Antonio Spurs team, give them their credit. They played so well. Dylan Napa, Champagne, even though De'Aaron Fox didn't play so well, but I know he's going to come back better. When Binyama, who is a generational talent, these guys are going to be in the final many more times in the coming years. They are young. Remember that their average age is between the age of 18 and 22. These are young guys, apart from their veterans of Harrison Barnes and De'Aaron Fox. These guys are good and they are not, they're not going anywhere. They are coming back very soon. If you look at their comeback frequency, historically was very abnormal in this postseason, but I don't see them doing it next season. It cannot happen next season. It's going to be very difficult for them to do it. Late clock efficiency was also a major identity for them in this postseason. I don't see it coming back next season. So next season, it's a season that is open for grabs. I see Boston being a bit more aggressive. If there's going to be a trade between Jaylen Brown and Antetokounmpo, then it will create another narrative in the East. Because if Miami Heat is able to go aggressively and get Giannis Antetokounmpo, then Miami Heat has a lot to say in what the playoff will also look like. So that gives us an idea of why the New York Knicks are the best team and why they deserve to win. They won 16 games and they lost only 3 in these playoffs. That's a very, very good record. And most of their winnings, apart from the San Antonio series, most of their winnings, they were blowing out teams with over 29 points, which is also very good. And the moment they got it right from their 4th game against a very, very good Atlanta Hawks team, which will also come back next year and also show us what they are made of. The moment they got it, right in game 4, they just went on and they started winning games and they went ahead to sweep 2 good teams, the Philadelphia Sixers and the Cavaliers, before they now met the San Antonio Spurs. So thanks for staying till the end. Watch out for more sports and more deliveries in the coming weeks. God bless.